people tend to think the conscious mind and the subconscious mind work the same way. They are totally different entities. So right now, if I read a book or I listen to this recording, people tend to think, oh, I like what this person's saying, or I don't like this person, or I like what I'm reading. And they think that this can become a part of their behavior. They think that this will go in the subconscious. It does not. The conscious mind learns with this. The subconscious cannot learn like this. It can only learn in two primary ways. First, it's in hypnosis, alpha theta brainwave state. The second way, habituation, repeating it over and over and over and over, and then it becomes so part of you that the muscles just react automatically. Your subconscious is here to protect you, to guide you, and it is way more, extremely more powerful than your conscious mind. We only have so much capacity to be conscious and have willpower. And our subconscious, which is always active all day and all night, is here to protect us and guide us.
Hi, and welcome to the Mindset and Performance Podcast. I'm Dries. I help athletes and business professionals with their career development. We work on a wide range of areas from psychology to strategy and execution, but we focus essentially on the mindset as it is the key to everything else. The whole idea behind this podcast is to deconstruct the habits that led people to their success, to learn from their experience and understand the psychology behind their actions and behaviors. And of course, to gain key insights that you can apply to your own life. How are you doing?
I'm doing great today.
Yeah?
Yes.
You seem, as always, every time I met you or talk to you, you seem quite often calm and grounded.
Oh, thank you.
Is this particularly different because of the Vipassana that you went to?
The silent meditation retreat, the one I go to Tapabrata.
What do you call it?
Tapabrata.
What is that?
This system involves a type of Vipassana, but it's focused around primarily around the whole holistic human being, where you're looking at enhancing your loving kindness as a basis of healing. And once you enhance a loving kindness from the chest, you can then go and move throughout your body to do, which is what Vipassana does, to release the emotions and to sit with them and to observe them. So this is partly because of that I feel more grounded and more calm. But it also has to do with everyday training, because you can go to as many retreats as you want every month, every year. But if you don't have the capacity to practice that in everyday life, in this what we call the real world here, then you're not really in meditation. You're just going between worlds.
So it's a silent meditation.
Yes.
Like you're not communicating or interacting with anyone over there.
No phones, no reading, no writing, no talking.
Why is it different, and what makes it different from the the word that I'm actually familiar with, the Vipassana.
It's actually it's the same in that sense, where you're going into the Vipassana practice comes from Goenka. That's the most famous one, and he is quite famous around the world. They have a lot of centers where you can join for donation. By donation, you pay. Tapabrata is led by a Balinese healer named Pak Murtada. It's been 25 years, and he incorporates Vipassana from Goenka as well, but also with the Buddhist text, old Balinese lontar, which are traditional texts that come from ancient times, Chinese knowledge, medical knowledge. And so he puts it all together so that you can have a more comprehensive understanding of your mind and your body. So you do train Vipassana, like in Vipassana, your mind, to go and observe what's happening in your body as a form of a healing. But in his case, Pamrta adds in a lot of knowledge from his background.
So he speaks
at night.
Right.
At night. And so he comes and gives you knowledge at night and wisdom. So you understand maybe life better as well, and why you are doing what you're doing and how to process that. And then when he's there on day 3 or 4, he does a consultation. So if you have an illness, he can help you understand where it's located in your body. So he can scan and he can give you that information, and then you can go train yourself to become a self-healer in your own body.
What do you mean specifically here by illness? Are we talking about physical illness,
yes,
or emotional, or a bit of both?
All. So when I first went to it, I had no illness. And then he scans me and he tells me that I have to look at my bones.
All right.
And there's a anger element in there. I don't know what to do with that at 21-year-old. I had no idea. But at the same time, I had many friends. Personally, I can tell you, I know them. They had lupus, for example, in case you don't know what lupus is. But lupus is not, you cannot medically treat that. And they've managed to overcome that with this meditation. People who cannot get pregnant, medically, they all are fine. They got the check mark from the doctor, physically, male, female, they should be good to go, but they can't get pregnant. And so what happens here is that you learn to understand that your body is not just a physical, you also have the meridian body. Whether we believe in this or not, it still exists. The chakra body, whether we want to believe in this or not, it still has an effect. So emotions and our and trauma tends to be lodged into our meridian. It can also affect the chakra, but then if it gets too intense, it comes out in the physical. So he helps you identify in which body it's located. So sometimes the issue is actually in meridian most of the time. So you have to go into the meridian body and clean it yourself with your own mind. The idea is the lighter your mind and the clearer your mind, the healthier your body is.
Right. This makes sense. I haven't tried it myself. I have been tempted to do something similar. I have heard a lot of good things about it, but also heard that it's quite intense, as in having to be sitting there, not talking to anyone for days and hours. I'm always a little bit concerned, but I think this is an excuse for my lower back to be sitting all the time. Like in a yoga class for 1 hour, when you sit for the first 10 minutes for meditation with cross-legged, it feels painful. So I don't know how I'm going to be able to do it for hours.
I totally understand. At Bali Usada, they're very flexible. So if you have a back pain, which a lot of people have, they ask you to sit in the back on a chair.
Oh.
And so they're very flexible on that point. But, you can see people start like that and then they end up sitting on the floor. The first TB1, Tapabrata 1, you do 45 minutes. And most people show up, they've never meditated. So it's painful. And I'm not going to even downplay it. It is hard. It takes effort and commitment, but there is still a reason why I would say after 25 years of doing this, there's still a wait list for people to get in. Autoimmune, cancer. I also know people who had stage 4 cancer, and they were given 6 months to live, and they're still alive. And I know them personally, 2 years now. And this was one of the major reasons why. So they help you get comfortable. You have lots of pillows around you. And I can tell you, first 3 days, you're not happy. But you see, why is this pain so strong in my knee? And then bam, it's gone. And then suddenly it's in your right hip. And you're like, this is so strange. You start to observe how it moves and how it's not permanent. And here you start to see nothing is permanent, even this pain. And suddenly you can start to heal just by noticing that.
Right. So would someone need something? What kind of intensity of pain or struggle would someone need to be in order for him to go and seek such a an intense experience.
There is no, I wouldn't say you need to be in intense pain. Again, I went because I was always interested in the mind. So I had none. And then you have people who are near death, people who are dying and who want to die peacefully. So you have the whole spectrum there.
Right.
Yeah, and you have people from all walks of life, people who've never meditated. You do have monks. You do have Nobel physicists, doctors, DJs, designers, models, the whole 9 yards. It's for all humans, yeah.
10 days.
This one is 7 days, the first level. Then if you want to go deeper and you travel through your different bodies and you literally, this sounds very abstract and strange, I know, but he teaches you to go into your liver, into your intestines, into your teeth. Sounds very, very strange, but you get so sharp that you can actually go and travel inside. It's like a journey in your body. And then the next level after that is, you really focus on concentration.
It's a visualization, like when you say going through these
No.
places, you visualize yourself going there?
No, you feel it.
You feel it.
You are actually in your teeth. And it's a very strange thing to express, because when I first heard it, I was like, what does this mean? What do you mean you go in your teeth? But you feel the hardness of your teeth. So you're focused, just like right now, if I feel my fingers touching each other, but I can go into my teeth and feel the hardness and maybe the smoothness with, it's hard and rough. It's very specific. It's sharp.
So, okay, the benefits could be being calm and grounded like you are.
Yeah.
What else? Like clarity, you mentioned clarity, healing,
Health.
as in healing emotionally and physically. Health in general, like
Health.
like feeling healthier. That's what I mean.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So you see people come out overcoming medical issues they couldn't before, like lupus or autoimmune diseases, cancer, but also as a everyday maintenance, because every day we are all under stress, whether we recognize it or not. We are under stress. It's unfortunate in this modern world, the demands, everything. Our food's not as good nutritionally, and so we have to cope with so many more challenges. And so maintaining this every single day allows us to clean, let's say, the bucket, or the backpack full of rocks that builds up.
Right.
And he said this, that hurts me, I'm suffering here. So if you can practice this every day, it actually helps to maintain a lighter backpack of life.
What do you mean, like here, by practicing this every day? Like you use the same techniques and tools on a regular basis? Like you don't have to go every time to a 7 days or 10 days meditation retreat, but rather keep those tools to sustain a longer prolonged effect from that. Right.
Yes, and you can take it home and practice it, and so that it becomes a part of you. But of course, everyone does it their own way. Some people go once and they're happy and they can maintain it. Some people, like I go every year for just my own work, but also to sharpen my mind.
Yeah, I see. Well, a friend of a friend, she's doing that every 2 months.
Yeah.
She's doing one after one. Every 2 months or every month, I think, even like 10 days and then 20 and then 10 and 20 and 10 and 20. Okay, wow, this sounds really intriguing. I might book myself something like that in the beginning of 2020.
Let me know, because I will let Dewi know.
I need to book ahead, right?
Absolutely. There's already a 5 people wait list for January, and the next one I believe is April. It's only because I work closely with them, with my clients. That's why I know the schedule. But I don't get paid to promote them. I have nothing to do with that.
Yeah, it's just
but
want
it's
to share
my number
with
one.
people.
Yeah, I would say that if there's any one thing I could, from what I know, it's available in Bali, I would say this would be it. If there's only one thing you have to invest into, time and money, go here.
This one.
Because you want to be self-sufficient in your healing. You want to know how to do it. You don't want to always need people.
Right. Like self-reliance. Yeah, that's also the base of my practice. Okay, well, let's speak then about work, since you mentioned work now. How about hypnotherapy? You're a hypnotherapist. Like, that's how you introduce yourself to people? I'm a hypnotherapist, or I'm a healer? Or
Hypnotherapist for sure, because that's already out there. Healers even more out there.
Yeah.
And so if people already have a tendency to not be so open, hypnotherapy is more they can understand what that means on some level. But hypnotherapist.
But your practice is called Maya Healing.
Yeah. Maja healing,
Okay, so you are a hypnotherapist. Can you explain a little bit about what it is? I know people know what it is, kind of. I say kind of because there's some stigma around it sometimes, with ticking the clock, tick tock in front of your eyes, and you sleep and you lose consciousness completely. And when I shared that I have had some sessions with you, people were like, "Oh, really? How was it?" You know. and they're curious to know about it, and I don't know really how to explain it to them really clearly. And now hopefully they're listening and knowing more about it. Also, the client that I bring in to my practice and work with you together with him, in the first time we connect, he's like, oh really, oh wow. It's like it's seen a little bit sometimes from at least the group, the people that I know, that's being something extreme, not extreme, maybe extreme is not the right word, but yeah. So yes, where do you start from?
Well,
can you explain a little
we
bit
can
about
just start with the basis of what hypnosis is. Hypnosis actually is just being in relaxation. If you want to categorize this in the scientific way, you can observe it by being in the alpha theta brainwave state. You can see this in your EEGs. This is nothing out there. We all go into hypnosis, no matter what, at very minimum 2 times a day to hundreds of times.
Really?
When you're going to sleep, you're going to go down into theta and into delta. Delta brainwave is when you're in sleep. Now, when you finish a very intense meeting, you have a meeting and you go out and you're going to start to think about the meeting, you are in hypnosis. You are in alpha. If you are going home after a very late night, you are working all day, you already know your way home. You get on the bike or the car, and when you get in and you get home, you park and you just kind of shock yourself. You're like, whoa, I don't even remember this drive home. You kind of went on autopilot.
You zone out a little bit.
This is when you're in theta. This is when your subconscious is taking over. Your subconscious is here to protect you, to guide you. And it is way more, extremely more powerful than your conscious mind. We only have so much capacity to be conscious and have willpower. And our subconscious, which is always active all day and all night, is here to protect us and guide us. So when we're tapped out after that long day, our subconscious knows the way home. We've done it 100 times. It will even react faster when it sees in Bali, chicken crossing the road or the dog in the middle. It will react faster by braking than our conscious mind. This also is the case with, let's say, feelings. We feel something in the subconscious, the body, before we recognize it sometimes. You can see that. So when we're in hypnosis, this is very normal state. The number one stigma, you lose all control, and that I'm the one who's going to control absolutely everything that you do. This is more for stage hypnotism. When I'm here to entertain the people or something like that, I don't practice this in any way. The kind of hypnotherapy or hypnosis I do is for therapeutic purposes. The one I have found, for me, the most practical and also efficient is to work with the client just in the hypnosis state. What this means, they are totally conscious. In fact, most clients, when they come, they close their eyes, they still think they're conscious. They really still think, I'm not in hypnosis. This doesn't feel like I'm in hypnosis. I'm aware. I'm aware of what I'm saying. I'm aware of the sounds and all of this. It's only at the end usually, or when they tap into the memory and the root cause of where their issue comes from and the feeling comes up, it's only then they say, okay, I am not really conscious, or when they open their eyes. That's when they know. But I'm not controlling in any way. At any point, you can open your eyes and walk out. I've never had anyone do that. And how many years now? Over 6 years. But yeah, it's really, people don't realize until they get to the root cause or until they open their eyes and they see how much time has gone by.
You said root cause and you said issues.
Yeah.
So people need to have some sort of problem that they need to solve or resolve to come to you.
Ideally, yeah. People can do it for exploratory purposes. However, I don't take those clients anymore, primarily because there are too many people who are needing maybe to achieve, to reduce their suffering. Yeah. And that's more important in my practice, especially if they're pregnant mothers or they're about to give birth, because you have a lot happening at birth that can imprint the client for the rest of their life. And if they're parents, they always get priority because they're having a child that they're going to impact. So those are my list of how I work through them. So if they want to explore, you can. And some people want to explore where the issue comes from or go to a past life just to explore.
Yeah.
But I really suggest, if you're going to use that time and also spend some money, use it to at least do something so that you can elevate yourself, evolve to the next level. And that's usually by dropping those unnecessary and unprocessed emotions. Let's
say, for example, somebody, an entrepreneur, right? And he's in the phase of his life where he's growing, but not necessarily facing challenges, but like he wants to do it right. He wants to have more clarity and so on. Like,
yes.
Can he use hypnotherapy? Not
Yes.
necessarily with you, but like hypnotherapy can help him.
Yes.
How?
So he can use, there's two types. Hypnosis, we can have the audio recording. So he provides some positive suggestions or imprints, and you have to listen to this. I shouldn't say you have to, but it's best if you listen to this about, I would say 21 days to 30 days, because hypnosis, when you want to learn something new in the subconscious, people tend to think the conscious mind and the subconscious mind work the same way. They are totally different entities. So right now, if I read a book or I listen to this recording, people tend to think, oh, I like what this person's saying, or I don't like this person, or I like what I'm reading. And they think that this can become a part of their behavior. They think that this will go in the subconscious. It does not. The conscious mind learns with this. The subconscious cannot learn like this. It can only learn in two primary ways. First, it's in hypnosis, alpha theta brainwave state. Remember, up until the age of 7, we are in hypnosis. So we are absorbing absolutely everything. And at this age below the age of 7, 8, we don't have the capacity to have what we call a critical filter, or the ability to say, I don't accept or I accept. We just download. So hypnosis is the first way. The second way, habituation, repeating it over and over and over and over. And then it becomes so part of you that the muscles just react automatically, like professional golfers or anything like that. So if you want to, as an entrepreneur, or I work with trading platforms and they want to enhance their output, or let's just say their how well they're doing, we can create a custom audio and you can download them online. I mean, other hypnotherapists, there are many of them online. And so you provide a positive suggestion to your subconscious. You listen to this several times, if you want, in a day or every night over the span of 21 days minimum. And you really listen to it like a meditation, a guided meditation. The other way is to very much observe and aware, where do I tend to sabotage whatever I'm doing? It can be, for example, because we're talking just now about traders, some professional traders who are just excellent. They're maybe I have to say, like, they're very happy with what they're doing, but they see I'm not taking as much risk as I used to. I'm risk averse. At this point, they can detect I can buy more, but they just resist, and they know this feeling is not part of them. So if they know this, or in a relationship, why is it that every time my partner walks out, I get jealous? I know he's not doing anything, but I just feel concerned that he's not going to come back or whatnot. Or why do I get so angry that I cannot control my temper to my child? These are all the kinds of things where I see I cannot control this consciously. That's where you go to hypnotherapy, and you can use that to go deeper.
So it got me a little bit, I understand what you're saying, but it made me think of, recently, a couple of last years, people have been talking about conscious living, conscious doing, conscious everything. But it seems like what we do consciously, correct me if I understood it wrong, it's not as important as the things we do unconsciously, the subconscious. Subconscious is much more powerful. So is the goal from doing things consciously is to code things to the unconscious, to bring them from conscious to unconscious to subconscious? Is that the goal?
This is
which
really
state
interesting.
Shall we be in, actually?
From my understanding, of course, we want to line up the conscious with the subconscious. So this is a very, very simple example. I'm rich or I'm abundant. Consciously, I know this, I'm thinking this, but of course, underneath subconscious, I have no worth or I'm poor. The subconscious will always take over. We want to line it up so that if I want to feel rich and be rich, and my conscious mind directs me to go to the right interviews or whatever that may be to get the job, then my subconscious can deliver it. This is the ideal state where your conscious willpower has the capacity to direct the rest of your energy. Now, if we do not have the right programs or blocks or imprints, whatever you want to call them, or beliefs, and most of us do not know the beliefs we actually have. We think we know ourselves, but across the board, most people get very surprised at what they touched into and the root cause. The more we release that, the more space and power your conscious mind has to move. So why am I always angry? Or let's just say I don't want to be so selfish. Consciously, I know I should be more giving, but I cannot help it. If you touch this, I get angry and I grab my food back. Perhaps that's a good, simple example. But then if I can, the ideal state to be in is that I want to be selfish or unselfish. I can then decide in this moment, I want to be selfish or unselfish. And my body can follow. I don't want to be angry, but there will be times perhaps where you need to be angry because a boundary was crossed. So consciously, you have to, at least my understanding, you have to have that space to be either one or. If you cannot have a space to go left or right or whatever way you want to go, and the body keeps on going another way, or the mind, subconscious goes another way, then we have an issue. So you have people who know I should do this. And I know all the information, but I'm not showing up. That's the subconscious.
Subconscious that's holding back.
Yeah. And it's not, you cannot talk to the subconscious and say, get with it. That's conscious.
You can teach it things through the conscious actions and
if you
and
do
repetition.
it repeated over and over. But most of us are too stressed. Our willpower is not that strong. Okay, I'm going to be nice. I'm going to stop smoking. That's another one.
Right.
I'm going to stop smoking. I know it's not good for me. No, it's not good for me. Attitude is I'm not going to smoke. It's bad for me. So of course the behavior is I don't smoke. Of course, willpower is there. 3 days and then you get stressed.
Right.
Or you get hungry. Or as a woman, we have low blood sugar. We cannot produce serotonin. We get stressed. The subconscious kicks in. And the subconscious program, from whatever reason it may be, the mother smoke, the father smoke, or adds, I go for a cigarette.
Right.
And that's 3 days usually is when you see people crash.
So how much of this is science backed up? How much of it is Eastern philosophy and approach? And yeah, I have a lot of questions coming in the same time. So I also wanted to ask, maybe we can pin that one. Because to me personally, I think, I will just go for hypnosis. But there are also people who would prefer to do longer, extended sessions of, let's say, psychotherapy and talk to someone. If we can explain the differences in who should go to hypnotherapy and who should go to psychotherapy for longer extended period, who should go even to medication, that would be also very helpful.
So how much of it is Eastern, how much of it is scientific? Actually, it's very difficult. It depends which part you want to talk about. For example, if I'm dealing with a client who has high stress and anxiety, we have to look at the context of the individual and what has happened to them. We know scientifically that no child is born as a blank slate. What happens in the womb of the mother has already shaped the child. You see this with studies where 9/11 happened. The mother had a higher level of baseline of cortisol. Babies were born. Yet, even though everything was okay at that time, the mothers were safe, they're feeling good, the babies maintained a higher level of cortisol compared to other. So this means that they're going to be viewing the world, their perception, via this biologically, scientifically observable state of cortisol levels. So they're likely to be sweaty palms, feeling that more, maybe feeling more agitated. So you have the ways you can, and there's a lot of science now, medical doctors coming out with this. Dr. Gabor Mate is one of them, where he links emotions to the cancer. He's a medical doctor, and Bruce Lipton's a very famous one.
My favorite.
Yeah. And when, for example, when he came out with his book, maybe 15 whatever years ago, it broke ground because nobody would say these things. Dr. Gabor Mate is another one of them, looking at addiction, looking at the context of early childhood. Now, most of the root causes I end up going back to, because of maybe the clients I see, they tend to go to early childhood. And that's where a lot of our formation takes place. And we end up operating out of this mindset or also this structure, this reality. And it's unfortunate, but it really does lock us there. So unless we do diligent work all the time, we tend to just operate out of subconscious. It worked for our parents, so it will work for us. That's usually this animal part of us that says we're going to absorb information. In the case of the woman who's carrying a baby and 9/11 happens, the child is learning. It's a stressful environment outside. I must prepare myself. And if you're in a high stress mode, you are more alert, more hyper-aware, more sensitive. And that's what you end up developing as. I mean, you can see this scientifically. You can also see the brain developments and how that changes. Yeah, there's a lot of science to it. Then again, how much is Eastern philosophy? funny enough you say that, because there's a lot more science now that is showing how valid Eastern philosophy is. Everything from Stanford has a whole department focused on pain management with hypnosis. Dr. David Spiegel is one guy who's just phenomenal. And you can see in the amygdala what changes when you work with hypnosis with patients who experience pain, and how it reduces. It's this phenomenal stuff, and you can see it. So there is an actual shift. And nobody in the medical field can agree what is hypnosis. Altered state, is it alpha theta, so they can't really agree on that, but they know that there's an effect that's happening inside the brain. And you can see that. Yeah.
Right. Okay, so who would benefit most of this?
Depends but across the board, all humans. The only ones in the way I practice it, because everybody has their own way, it's going to be very difficult to do this with someone who is a psychopath, because we're talking about feelings. A lot of the traumas and the unresolved issues that pop up as an adult come from trapped feelings and emotions as a child or at a time of trauma. Psychopaths they cannot feel in the same way, and so they can think they feel, but they don't feel in the same way. You can see that if they look at a scene of a horrific accident or something, they don't even sweat. There's no reaction, So this wouldn't work for a psychopath. But across the board, it can be for fertility, it can be for anxiety.
Sports people, athletes?
Yeah, I also work with pro snowboarders who are in Olympics. Actually, two of them, race car drivers, golfers. Yeah.
Right.
Across the board.
Hey guys, if you're listening, sign up. Keep going.
Yeah, so sports is another one. Because if you know how, this is really, like if you're a race car driver, you have barely a split of a second. You don't even calculate it. You have to be able to see who's coming, where, when can I change gears. You cannot do this consciously. You will have lost your opportunity. And this calculation has to be done so smoothly and fluidly and quickly. This is subconscious. So we remove any blocks that may be there. Even trading, when someone's trading and they have to sell, this is their exit. You will see people have fear or greed kick in. Why is that fear there? And it can come from the pressure of having failed as a child and the father was disappointed with them. Remove that. If it's greed, because they feel they have to take care of their family and they have too many pressures, we remove that. So when they sell and they're clean and they're feeling good. So this is where we remove the little things that can actually have a very big impact.
Through, when you say remove, like a session, 2 sessions, a couple of sessions, continuous treatment, is the treatment the right word?
Yeah, or therapy. But actually, I prefer not the extended, you have to come back forever and ever and ever to see me. I've been against that, which is why I didn't end up becoming a psychiatrist or a psychologist. I did do a degree in psychology, and I decided not to go that way because of that. I didn't feel it was comprehensive enough, and I do not believe we need to go on forever and ever to overcome something like anxiety or depression. So in the case of the clients I see, generally, I would say be prepared for 2 sessions. Because the first session, if you've never had a hypnotherapy, you're already a bit apprehensive. You don't know what's going to come up. The second session, and people tend to go deeper. So if you're coming in for anxiety, of course, there's a spectrum of it. But generally, people feel a reduction after 1 session. Enough that I don't see them again. The ones that I do see for over 10 sessions is because they love what we're doing, and they come back every year or every 6 months to address a new topic.
Different topics, they're not necessarily the same topic over and over.
Yeah. Very rarely do I work with anyone more than 2-3 sessions.
Right.
Yeah. If you know how something works, it's just like a car. You can really easily work with it.
Okay. So what makes the difference? What's the difference between psychotherapy and hypnosis? Like, I know the difference, but why would someone choose one practice and the other one?
Just on the therapy itself, everybody has their own way of practicing. So in many ways, we're also practicing in the way I do psychotherapy. We're just doing it with the eyes closed in hypnosis. So hypnosis would be characterized by having your eyes closed and you're more in your imagination. in your feelings. Psychotherapy can be like that, because there are some psychotherapists who practice like this too. So it's a gray area. You can't really separate that, though cognitive behavior therapy is very different. Cognitive behavior therapy is when you observe your thoughts and you change your thoughts patterns. And so hypnosis, we're very different from that. It works very well together, but that would be more distinct of a difference, where psychotherapy can move into hypnosis. And what we do in hypnotherapy, at least in my practice and the people I work with, does also pass over into psychotherapy.
So why would I choose some 10 sessions with in psychotherapy if I can have quote unquote shortcut with doing 2 sessions of hypnotherapy?
That's a good question. If the therapist is a professional in providing, let's say, complex PTSD, which I focus a lot on, but if they're wanting to provide sessions that are going to be more conscious-based work, like, let's say, different steps to take when you get into this, that would be why you would want to do that. You want to be able to have conscious knowledge, a lot of that focused. I would say go with that. If you want to do subconscious work in 2-3 sessions and you are not so aware of the changes, but you can feel the changes after and you're okay to trust that, I would say come for hypnotherapy.
Right.
You would really this is what I tell all my clients, only go for a hypnotherapy session if there's an issue that you cannot overcome with your conscious mind. So go learn the information, conscious, whatever that may be. And then if you really can't get over it, then you got to come to hypnotherapy into the subconscious.
Can it be combined with other practices?
Absolutely.
Such as?
I work a lot with counselors who work in the shadow, in the shadow work, to fertility therapists or medical doctors. I also work with doctors. So any kind of treatments like that. It can also be cognitive behavior therapy, family constellation. Anything that brings up a part of you that you cannot move through, that you cannot resolve, that you cannot quite understand why it's there.
Right. So in a personal level, what do you enjoy about what you do, about your work? And why?
I love seeing how in awe people are when they discover parts of themselves they never knew existed. I love this moment. When they first, it's not so comfortable all the time for them, but then they realize, wow, I actually know myself better now. So when they discover why they are doing what they're doing today, they cannot understand why they react like this, or they cannot understand where this comes from. And when they connect the dots, and with a conscious mind still there, remember, it's still there the whole time, and they see, this is why I'm doing that. Wow, that clarity there. You also gain a lot of wisdom. You also understand life. And when I see that this person is a mother or a partner or whatever, they're going to go home and they're going to bring this, not consciously having to remember the wisdom. It becomes a part of them. It ripples out. So whenever somebody, walks out, or we follow up, and they can say, my mind is more calm. I don't have so many voices. Or I can wake up and breathe again. I mean, this to me, I love. It keeps me going. This
very gratifying, I think.
Very. And I think no matter how many times, it still fuels me every single time. Because some clients are harder. But when they get to that point, it's so fulfilling. So fulfilling. And I know this for my own work too. Why am I doing this? And you find out and it's just gone. When you find out and you correctly identify it and you can correctly release it, this liberating feeling that comes, this is it.
Does it get challenging sometimes for you?
Oh, yes, of course.
You don't take more than a session or 2 per day, right? Or
yes,
like
I now no longer take more than 2. I used to take 3, but now I only take 1 or 2.
And they are long, like 3 hours.
Yes.
So it's a very demanding kind of
yes,
job.
But like anything we do all the time, we know how to work with it. At the beginning, it was very taxing, but I also wanted to do it. Ideally, we don't have to see somebody for 10 sessions. If we can do it properly, totally and fully, and there's space to do it in 3 hours, usually that's a good time frame. Because if I say, okay, it's 1 hour session and you were just getting somewhere, okay, time's up. This feeling, you cannot plan healing. You cannot control healing. So giving it time and space, 3 hours is fantastic, because at some point somebody has to go to the toilet. for example. But generally, after 2.5 hours and 3 hours, the mind gets tired and they're ready to close up. We've already done a lot of good work.
And how did you get into it in the first place? You said you were studying something different, not different, but like, in the same field, but you chose hypnotherapy.
Yeah,
Can you
I
tell me
have
about
always been fascinated by why we are who we are. So why is this happening to this person? And growing up around the world, you see the cultural context and the languages and how that creates someone's reality. I lived in Tokyo for 10 years, and before that was Nairobi, and after that was Jakarta. The languages are so different. And the way they view time, the way they view healing, the way they view relationships, the way they view their self. Like in Japan, it's a very collectivistic approach to life. So my personality depends on who's around. I will become more generous or loving depending or more submissive on who's around. In the Western, which is when I went to the American school, for example, or the French school, you are you, no matter who's around. So if I want to be angry, I'm angry, and I'm an angry person no matter who's around. Whereas in the Asian culture, you push that down and you allow another one come up. So to what extent I am who I am, if I'm a mixture of all of this, and then that means where am I? So I've always been fascinated with that. Then I ended up going into psychology, and it's when you can observe this is what happens and this is the output. Or for example, if you stimulate this part of the brain, the temporal lobe, you will have an experience that's quite close to feeling like the Son of God. Well, that's really interesting. So if this part of the brain does this, and I maybe have seizures in this part, then that would create a reality, And so you have a lot of doctors who do this, and this is fascinating. But then I saw that to continue in the field of psychology and psychiatry, because at this point I didn't know which way I would go, I still did not understand, because I grew up in the East as well, in Tokyo and Jakarta, why we had to go into a system that demanded you to come back over and over and over and over and over. When in the East, we have a different understanding of time. We have a different understanding of healing, of the body, of the mind. So I graduated and I did not go into that. I didn't do my master's.
And this is what you always wanted to do? Like when you say,
absolutely
I
not.
was always interested in that, like, are you talking here about when you were a teenager, when you were early 20s? Or?
Always interested in the mind and the body. But did I ever know I was going to be a hypnotherapist and I would have my own healing office? Not at all. Not at all. I did hypnotherapy for my own healing. I was like, let's do a class, And so my partner at the time said, let's take this hypnotherapy class. I said, let's do it. I had a year off. I decided to take a year off. Let's do it. Zero intention at all.
What were you planning to do then?
I had an import-export company.
Oh, wow.
With providing luxury hotels with all the interior. And so I took a year off. I could take a break and did it. I was already doing meditation. I had already been expanding. I wanted to always expand my mind. And she said, let's do it. So we did it. And it completely blew my mind. And this is so quick. How quick it is, like, to address this topic, that topic, this topic. So then a few days later, my friends, when I graduated and had my certificate, they say, hey, can you help me with this? I keep on having this fear of starting this business. Oh, yeah, sure. I did it for free, of course. And my sister asked, and then my father asked, and then, of course, you just do it. And at one point, I actually this is a 3-hour session, I had no more time to do other work and to even just go to the beach. And I said, okay, I think I have to start charging because it's taking up a lot of my time. Never did I even plan to have a practice then. And it literally grew totally organically. No business plan, nothing.
Right. What kind of skills do you think you have transferred from the past career to this one?
From the import-export?
Yeah.
Structure. Because when you're doing releasing and feeling and this kind of realm, you can sometimes get lost because it can be it's not so black and white. Whereas if you have practice and know that you have time, for example, or this is your goal, or what you have to deliver, you keep on point. This is by far, I think, something that really helped structure.
Right. And was there anybody that influenced this this journey of yours, influenced you right now? I mean, when you were a kid, you were looking up to someone, or you had a mentor when you learned about hypnotherapy. Who influenced you the most, would you say? It may be even in parents, I don't know.
Yeah. Both of my parents always challenged our belief. Never once.
What did they say?
For example, my father would always ask me, well, how do you actually know that? It was never just, okay, that's great. No, it's, well, who are you? And I say, I'm Kartika. No, that's your name. So he would challenge and not allow me to, he'd ask me to suspend belief, because he always believed that, he always felt that once you have belief, you stop growing. So I believe the earth is round. Okay, you can accept that, but then you will never go further. So he always challenged, and this was actually very hard to grow up with. It was very hard. Never could we feel secure and concrete in what I thought I knew. Challenged. I would want to do I did biotechnology for some time, and I wanted to go there. Well, why? And then I'd say, well, because I'm interested. No, why? And so you have to go in. So this kind of practice started from my father, and my mom was always adamant that we would be balanced in terms of physical sports, nutrition, and of course spirituality. So we were always exposed to these things. This is, of course, my parents were a big part of that. But since then, I have to say I have a multitude of teachers in all the realms, from psychology, like from my cultural psychology professors, who have deeply, deeply shaped my understanding of who we are based on our culture and language, to the energy of the body. I have many teachers with that, mind mentors. So I can contact them and say, hey, this is what's happening. What does that mean? And when does this start? And
You mean you're still contacting them right now, these days?
yeah. Most of them, yes.
So
Absolutely.
learning never stops, eh?
Never. And then it's wonderful. Yeah, it's wonderful, because we always understand, oh, that I did not know. And now I better understand why this client needs to do this, or that.
Right. I see. And so how do you organize your day to be, structure, I believe when you were saying structure, inside the work, when you're actually practicing, so to be very focused and structured, but also structured through the days, like managing clients, managing your meetings and everything, right?
Yeah.
So how do you organize your day to be efficient, both from like a work perspective, but also from energy perspective, like keeping your energy in place? And what do you do?
Maybe you practice this as well, but starting the week, I put in all the things. Now I do this after learning the hard way. I start every week with all the things I need to do for myself first, because I tend to forget. I do everything that I have to do, and I forget, okay, I need to maintain my body, my mind, and my energy, and that will include going to the gym. That will make that becomes a block in my schedule, and everything goes around that. If I don't do that, I will always take more clients, and I will always take more, participate in more things. So first that goes in. The things that I know I will always kind of put second. So I put that in first. Those things that will help me maintain a balanced, harmonious state. Once I know that's in, now, because of the way my practice is and it's going well, I schedule my clients around that.
Right.
Because then I will never deliver the best version of me. And in that moment, I always act like we have one chance. So I try to do everything to be prepared for that one session.
So what drains your energy the most, if we can just talk about that quickly?
Not the sessions.
Not the
sessions do not, because we're working together. And they're already there, sitting there, ready to let go. And so they allow me to work with them. What drains me the most is, unfortunately, when we're speaking and every day with friends or any family, and they are adamant they want to stay in the state that they want to stay in. And there's no moving past that. And this is, for me, draining, because of the work I do. I'm like, well, we can maybe go this way, and they don't want to move. So this, I see my frustration. That drains me. When we are not doing all that we can to overcome an issue, that's actually quite easy to overcome. When we don't consciously always choose it, but we choose to stay in the state.
And then, so how do you recharge? I mean, you mentioned like doing your own practices, like the gym and the yoga and everything, meditation, I believe, as well, being structured.
Every morning.
But is there any specific thing you do, I don't know, by the end of the day or by the end of the week that actually recharges you? Or what can that be?
Depends on what I need that week. Depends on the kind of clients I came that week. If they're quite heavy clients, I will need to go and move my body, dance or something like that. But no matter what, in the morning, I will need to meditate, but I will also need to do some type of breath work. Because when we're breathing in, we do activate and enhance our chi. And the chi is going to be what helps me keep on moving and give me energy and stamina. This is also my best defense, maybe you're aware or not, but it helps me to manage my coherence in my heart field. And the heart is something that we work everybody works with, but we don't realize how powerful it is. There's a lot of information on this, science on this from the Heart Math Institute, but I would recommend, if you're interested in that, go look at it, because the amount of information that comes out of your energy field, which we all detect. So right now, you and me, we're sitting within a meter or so of each other. You are, whether you realize it or not, detecting my heart field, and your central nervous system is changing based on mine. So if I'm sitting in your field and I'm your therapist and I'm incoherent, I'm agitated, I'm anxious, you're going to detect that subconsciously, unconsciously. So I do need to do this for myself. So I feel more coherent when I go and merge with the world and pick up everyone's energy. And we all do it. Plants do it. They will change how much water they put out based on who's coming by and how coherent they are. You can observe this. This is not energy. This is observable. Yeah, and so I do this practice every day for myself to maintain that, and then to work with clients. So that keeps me.
Yeah, I totally agree with you with that, because I think also we have quite similar practice with breath work, meditation, visualization also in the morning, and starting with the gym or surfing or something like that. Yeah, to recharge, to be available for ourselves and the people we love, and also our clients, and deliver. And you actually also work from different places, like remotely as well, right? Like you do sessions in Skype. How does it work when it comes to this, what you just described now with energies and everything? Does it go also remote? Does it go also over
so
line?
When we go into hypnosis, the deeper you go, and you will be going in there whether we consciously realize it or not, you go into a field that we're all tapped into. Now, even now, this is where I train myself, but anybody can do it. You train to go into that field, and you go to the client wherever they are. So you help, whether I'm here and the person is in Norway, I see where they are, I see their face over Skype. And even if we turn off the video, I now know where I can send my energy there in a way that we can be more connected. I can pick up more understanding of them. But whether I can do this or not, if they go into hypnosis, they will go deeper into a state where they will go into this field that we are all connected into. There's a portion of the hypnotherapy I carry out where it's a lot like Gestalt therapy, and you go into the other person's body. I do think it's 9 out of 10 will say, I had no idea how different that would feel. Consciously, I'll be like, yeah, okay, this person feels angry. But if I go into hypnosis and I go into their body, imagine going in their body, they actually experience a very different reality. And this is where we're saying about going into this field that we're all connected into, whether we want to accept that or not. And I didn't before. I didn't think it existed. So over Skype, we can still do that because we are still connected anyways as humans.
Yeah, that makes sense. So what do you think right now? I mean, are you satisfied by the level of accomplishment that you have created? Do you consider yourself successful?
Yeah, I do.
It's 1 out of 10. What's the score there? Like,
there's always going to be, I have the mentality that there's always more. So I would always say 8. Like 8, because there's always 2 more things, 2 more levels of like full accomplishment. But considering all that I can do and all that I'm doing, I feel very happy.
Well, how would a 9.5 or even 10 look like? What would be different than now?
That's a good question. Probably I would be able to have more courses and work with more new hypnotherapists, not so that my therapy can get out there, more so that, because the courses are about tapping into your own healing. And if I could activate that and more people could go out and do, help activate that part of them, and they can go out, use their own power to help the other people, I would feel like we could do more.
So what else are you working on? Like, did you set goals for 2020? Did you approach I'm wondering also, how is your approach with that? Like, we'll see what's going to happen, or rather, let's plan everything and set some goals. And
it's so funny you bring that up, because when I was in a psychology degree and I hadn't really tapped into the subconscious and all the power in there, I had 4-year plans. I had 10-year plans, and I had these 15. It was crazy. And now there's such an ebb and flow, of not too much pull, not too much push. So I leave space for what can happen, but I still have my eye on what I'd like to get done. Next year, there are actually two in terms of the healing world. There's the hypnotherapy courses I'm giving, because I want to be able to really just nail that to the level that, I'm looking forward to that. And then the number 2 is the retreats that we're doing with Maja Healing. Maja Healing also came out totally we did not plan that. I did not plan that. I just opened a little office for myself so I can practice. Because if you do this kind of work, where you go there every day, you sit in the same chair every day, and I'm looking at the same wall every day, different client, but you got to stimulate yourself and get enthusiasm. So I created this little room for myself, and then more healers joined. So I didn't create a center at all, and it became one. And I started to see the kinds of people that came in, the healers and the therapists, we all work holistically. So I'm working through the mind, but we are tapping into the body and healing the body and the energy body. Some of them in there are doing strict body work, but they are tapping into memories and feelings and the meridian body. So it's all holistic. And then suddenly I started saying, okay, well, this client, he can move through the levels of anger or whatever that may be, or autoimmune, but he can go faster if he goes sees this therapist next door into my office. And so we started to have a holistic approach. And then suddenly Maja Healing became a holistic center where you have different approaches to overcoming things. And that's the retreat we're looking at. I'm really interested in bringing this to people who would never be exposed to it. I love this. For people who are like, a lot of my clients only see me because you're my last resort. I don't want to do hypnotherapy. And nothing else has helped. And that's the people I love, because then they really see, okay, now I have a different understanding of who I am and what my body and my mind is made of. And people who would never really venture this way. So we work with corporate different companies, and we do a pre-burnout. So mind, body, and energy. And what I mean by mind is hypnotherapy. And then what I mean by body is, for example, sitting at a computer every day. We know it's not good for us, and we do not take the breaks. And so what happens, bit by bit, we start to build up the tension in our necks, in our shoulders. The blood flow decreases over time. It's just inevitable. And so holistic approaching to breaking that down in the body, you would see how people change. They don't have headaches anymore, and they're so amazed by it. But it's not something miraculous, including what we do in hypnotherapy. It's just knowing how to work with the body and the mind.
Right. That makes total sense. So like you're planning to do retreats, courses.
But it has to be holistic, yeah.
Holistic as in mind, body, and soul and energy,
yeah.
Right? Yeah. You also give classes right now, like meditation classes sometimes?
I help lead them, yes.
Yeah,
yes. I help lead them for people who want to start going into it, yeah.
I saw some pictures in Desaseni.
Yeah.
Like you were sitting there giving
a
class. Also, I saw on your social media some trainings or workshops, something like that, like some pictures passed there, and there was like a paperboard in the back, and there was some young people in the front.
Yeah.
What was that about?
So sometimes the yoga retreats will bring me in, or corporate companies, when they do retreats, they call me in to help expand on what the mind is. Since we don't get taught as a child, well, where's your mind? What is your mind?
What is your mind? Yeah.
Yeah. Like, is it where is it in your brain? Because it's not. You can see this in cases where, there's brain issues or accidents. The mind is still there. The mind is sensing, understanding. Is the mind in the body? Is it the spirit? Or what is it, And so I don't go into too much of energetics with certain people, but it's when we start to ask, well, which part of you is the mind? And where are your feelings and memories stored? So if it's stored in the mind and it's something out there, then why is your body reflecting the memory of this pain or this trauma? And so why is it that when we release this feeling, like loneliness or helplessness, which is very common in cancer, helplessness and anger, you feel that in your body? So when people start to question, well, who they are and who am I and why is that there? And that's why I have that colon pain. Oh, that's why this ringing in my ear, tinnitus, is always happening. And they start to understand, this is why I am going through this. This feeling of liberation starts to, I can put it together now.
Can you develop also a little more about the emotions when they're stored in the body?
Yes. So when we are going through something in our life and we don't have the chance to express it, to release it, or we don't have this, we're not guided to release it as children, what we end up doing is suppress it and store it. This is a survival tactic. We got to do this. But usually, if the parents are very stressed and the environment is stressed, we end up suppressing and storing too much. And so it gets stored someplace. Let's just say in the mind.
Can be different from one person to another.
Absolutely. Now, if you look at Chinese medicine and acupuncture primarily, some organs tend to have more association with certain feelings and emotions. But what I've come to understand, which now I understand with all my teachers and their knowledge, emotions and memories and traumas tend to be stored in the meridian body, which is what we do with acupuncture. Again, not all acupuncturists are the same. So many people do sessions with acupuncture like it didn't work. You have to see which therapist you're going to. But yeah, so the memories and the feelings are stored in the meridian body. Now, if I have, let's say, anger, and I'm storing that in my liver, which is the most common place, but it'll also be stored in my colon, it'll also be stored in my, let's say, ovaries. What will happen is that every time I encounter something every day and I'm stressed and I get angry, it gets more intense and bigger and bigger and bigger. And at one point, I will have to release it. It becomes just too heavy for the mind and body to carry. And so the body will release it, or I will have a burnout, or I will become, it just depends. It depends on the genetics. It depends on the food. It depends on what's happening around. And then it will rupture at that point. And of course, we don't want that. If we can proactively keep on cleaning ourselves and healing ourselves, so as soon as something comes up, let's find out where it's coming from, release it. You're already going to release it from the meridian body. And the meridian body is where the chi moves.
Okay, so how to release these feelings? First of all, like how to even identify those feelings. Like we never taught how to identify those feelings. Most of us don't know how the names to give them. We only know the basic, like, I don't know, sad, anger, frustrated. When I ask my clients sometimes, how are you today? Or how are you feeling today? We only get the answer of good or sad. So where to start from? Like the whole think about feelings, identifying them, releasing them, how to release them, when it's become alarming. What's your point about all that?
So in the session, because in everyday life too, but in the session, when you can identify exactly what you're feeling, you will find that the feeling will pass. Now, emotion is a name for the feeling. The feeling is the awareness inside of your body where it's located. So someone will come and say, I'm anxious. And I'll say, okay, where are you feeling that? In the chest. The feeling in the chest is not just anxiety. It's also perhaps frustration. There's also perhaps abandonment, betrayal, something else. So the feelings are like an amalgamation of all the emotions, but it's coming up in the body. Now, if we find out and we ask in a structured way, what are you feeling in your chest? And they'll say, frustrated. Good. And in hypnosis, the channel is open in the conscious mind so it can move out. We do this by breathing. We do this by talking. But you'll find with anger, for example, I'm angry. I'm angry because she did whatever she did. It will not move. And it will be until you identify, because anger is an umbrella term that can, it's not always, but it can be, it has many other raw feelings underneath, like I'm vulnerable. It's not angry, it's actually vulnerable. I feel vulnerable. When you identify it's that, then suddenly they feel the pressure and the feeling in their body loosen up.
You ask where specifically in the body you feel it, and then they start seeing it going
the
away.
Reason why, and you can do this by yourself. You're sitting and you're not feeling good, something is not right, you feel uncomfortable. First, find out where you're feeling in the body. Why? Your body will never lie. You cannot lie with the body.
First, identify what it is located in the body, or first identify what is the umbrella?
No, first identify where it's located in the body. I feel tension in my right foot. I feel tightness in my stomach. I feel tingling, like very hot tingling. I don't know. That can be something that maybe if you're sensitive to it, in my right hand. And that's usually adrenaline, for example, these kinds of things. But you identify where it is. And if you can, go into a calmer state of mind, breathing, meditation, and play around with it. Very light, never heavy, never focused, never intense, letting it be there. And slowly, if you are able to stay with it, most people can, you can start to break it down into the feelings. And you can say, this is tension. And you can see if it moves or not. If it moves, that means that it is tension. And if it doesn't move, okay, it's not tension, it's irritation. And you'll find if I ask the client, is this frustration? They're like, no. Is this anger? No. Is this irritation? Yeah. And then bam, it's moving out. It leaves. So feelings need to move. They do not want to stay stagnant, and that's just trapped energy. So as soon as you have the right identification from the conscious mind, that's what it is, it will leave. So if we can train ourselves to better identify what we're feeling, not only do I feel happier and healthier because I know what's going on inside of me and what's happening in the world, I can know what's happening in my relationships, whether it's with my friends, clients, parents, children, whatever that may be.
Significant other.
Of course. So identification of feeling starts to break everything down, and feelings will always move, always want to move, they always want to pass.
Right. Well, this is a really, really, really nice input. I hope a lot of people have been taking notes. If you haven't been taking notes, just please rewind a little bit and listen to it one more time, because this can be helpful in many levels, many ways. Whether you're an athlete, business person, or just regular person who wants to deal with self and relationships and so on. Kartika, this was really nice having you. And
Thank you, Idris. Such a pleasure.
We'll be sharing links from the books you mentioned, the people you referred to, all the tips, and also, of course, Maya or Maja? How do you call it? Maja.
Yeah.
I would have thought it was Maya.
No,
Helene.
people can call it Maya too. Yeah.
Yeah, links also to your social media. And please keep us up to date with the retreats and the courses and the classes. I would like to join myself, some of them. So, is there anything else would you like to add before we conclude?
No, thank you very much, Idris.
Well, thank you very much, and talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. That was fun.
That's it for today's conversation. Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed the key insights that we shared on this podcast interview. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button if you didn't subscribe yet, and head to my website, thebodyandmindcoach.com/blog, to find exclusive articles about various personal and professional development topics. And finally, if you are an athlete or a business professional who's looking for help to advance your career and navigate through whatever challenges that you may be facing to win your game, or if you are a corporate organization who would like to offer their team a workplace well-being workshop, or if you are a sports team who's looking at unlocking their full potential, go to my website, thebodyandmindcoach.com, scroll to the bottom and hit the contact button and reach out. Thank you and enjoy your day.